Great morning, world. This is your boy Dragon, and welcome to another edition of the Rise Up with Dragon podcast. So just as a quick reminder, it is the goal of this podcast to remove the blindfolds of your programmed mind and widen your field of consciousness so that the full spectrum of your great potential becomes available to you. We do this with our podcast, our weekly blog called The Dragon's Lair, One from the Vault, and our upcoming online courses and books. Welcome to another Rise Up with Dragon. And as a quick reminder, the Rise Up with Dragon podcast is sponsored by none other than Karma Mind.
Get into the float state with Karma Mind meditations and gear.
Great morning, world! Welcome to the Rise Up with Dragon podcast with your host, Dragon!
Great morning, world. I will start off by saying that my daughter makes fun of me all the time by saying, "Great morning, Dragon." And I realize I've been saying that for quite some time, and it's no wonder that I always think that it is a great morning. I've actually convinced myself into that. So great morning, world. Great morning to you. Just recognizing right now how long I've been doing this. I go through that every now and then. You know, people are at all different phases of going after things. You know, I put a post up the other day that said, if you look around at your life right now and don't see that it's messy, it probably means you're not going after something. If you look at your life and realize that you're kind of like coasting and things are easy, regardless of the metrics that you use to measure your success, you're probably not going after something. So I like to every now and then just become conscious of what has transpired over the past, 10, 11 years since I started waking up super early. I read The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod, and I just thought it made sense, and I started to do it, and it was tough. It never got easy. It just got easier. But I was just watching how much my health, my physical and mental and financial health have changed, not just from waking up and doing these rise ups, which kind of organically grew into this podcast, but by never stopping that process. And now this whole concept of the Rise Up with Dragon show is just the manifestation of consistency. You know, the fact that, I've lost 80 pounds. I've lost a lot of unhealthy relationships lost. Right? Isn't that nice when we lose them? My financial freedom is at a place that I never dreamed before. I've met the girl of my dreams, and we're adopting a little girl. Like just so many different things that I can't put my finger on and say, oh, if you wake up at 4:30 in the morning and do X, Y, Z, all of this will happen. But I can't imagine any of that happening if I hadn't done that. So when I say great morning to you, that's just part of my structure that I live in. And I recognized a long time ago that we get to choose. We get to choose certain things in life. There's certain things that are out of our control that we don't get to choose. And those are the things that happen, right? But we do get to choose how we perceive them, receive them, and respond to them. So that gave birth to what's coming out in my book called The Interface Response System, where I just recognized that if you want to do some self-improvement, self-discovery, personal growth work, it shouldn't be directed towards trying to not make things happen because that's out of your control. It should be focusing on how you perceive things. In the morning, we have this fragile moment where we wake up and we can begin our day with gratitude. I did a podcast recently called The Gratitude Frequency. We can tune into the gratitude frequency. And what that'll do is just what I'm saying, is it'll help us start to create a potentially fantasy, a fantastic perception, meaning, I have a tendency of looking at bad things and finding the good in them. And people will say that's a fantasy and it's an illusion. And I'll say, you're absolutely right. And it's the one that I've chosen. Which fantasy and illusion have you chosen? So the morning structure and this podcast and my blog and all of these things that you can sign up for free, riseupwithdragon.com, just the Dragon's Lair comes out once a week and highlights a bunch of stuff that we've done, but also, I go deep with my journal entries, which I teach people how to do as well. That's all about making a conscious decision to step into the fantasy that serves you best. So that's what this podcast is about. And I started with that because I just wanted to share. I was just in a state of gratitude as I tuned into that gratitude frequency, that I think I've been doing this for, about 12 years now. And it's pretty amazing how I'm starting to look at the world. So just quickly, I know a lot of people follow this and love the updates. So Chicken and I, for 2 years now, before we get into the podcast, like the sun, Chicken and I have been working really, really hard to move along with the process of adopting our little girl, our little ducky. And, so hard to stay above the line and not fall victim to the fact that it happened directly during the time of the coronavirus, the pandemic. So that was a blessing because that really gave us an opportunity to try this interface response system stuff out. But nonetheless, thinking about our little girl, who's now 11 years old, just time and time again, she has been denied. She's gotten her hopes up that she was going to move here and we were going to start our lives together. She's in South Africa. And then just time and time again, the universe almost cut her at the knees just right before it happens. So it's just fascinating to look at that. The Stoics always thought that adversity and conflict were wonderful opportunities and blessings because they gave you the opportunity to try your stuff out, right? So for me, and Chicken, we've done a great job. I mean, we've canceled our wedding now 3 times as a result of this stuff, but we are kind of excited and blessed at the opportunity to really overcome it. And we know that there's a silver lining. So just recently, we finally got the go-ahead. We were going to go try for I think almost our 4th time to Cape Town to get married. We're married, but to actually have the ceremony. And then we started hearing about this new Omicron variant. Right? And, we just kind of looked at each other. And we're at the point now where we say things like, hey, let's not get our hopes up and stuff. So, every now and then we succumb to it. But then what we decided to do was headed off at the pass, right? So we decided to cancel our wedding, which is a lot of money and all that stuff. Cancel the wedding and just get our little girl on the first plane out before the inevitable shutdown happens again. So we canceled the wedding, called all the vendors, and we're trying to recover money. It's a lot of money, probably not going to get it. But we put her on the first flight that she could get out. And then, of course, we find out that the government has shut down, that created a travel ban for that day that she was going to fly out. So just once again, unbelievable situation. So we've just decided to say this time we're not going to fall down from it. We're just going to go. We're going to go to South Africa. We're just going to go and see if they'll let us go there and be with our family and then go try to have this wedding. And I'm making a prediction right now that by the time we are getting ready to come back from South Africa, they will have opened up the skies again, and our daughter will come back with us, and it'll be a wonderful moment. So welcome. Today is a little bit on the shorter end, and this Rise Up is called Like the Sun, and it has to do with rising in the morning like the sun, and it's a pretty cool analogy. So it's no wonder I speak about it a lot, but I believe one of the greatest breakthroughs that a human being can ever make is learning to live in the present. And we talk a lot about that. Gratitude frequency is about that. Living in this moment where there's nothing but haves, not have-nots or loss, right? We're constantly struggling in the realm of things that are out of our control, which are the future and the past. But when you're in the present, everything is just fine, right? If you think about it, if somebody ever says, how are things right now? And you claim that they're not good, you're in the future or the past. So this is one of the challenges, conscious present moment thinking, to live in the present. So forgetting about yesterday and tomorrow and focused only on the present moment. And I was thinking about this the other day when I was writing this, and I was just thinking how interesting it is to observe the word present. Now we talk about that word quite often, but in observation of the word present, I noticed that it refers to an offering of something to another, right? So you can receive a present, right? The offering can be to you, and we've talked a lot about giving and receiving, that they don't exist without the other. Interesting thing about the idea of presenting, right, is if there's no giver and receiver, it doesn't work. So you can receive a present, or you can present someone with an offering or a present. Christmas time coming up, so we and Hanukkah, so big shout out to all you. So when we take the word present and we use it in reference to being present, the question I asked myself is, what is the offering, and who is the offerer, and who is the receiver? Isn't that interesting? If we look at the word present and we recognize that it is an offering, what does it mean to live in the present moment? Who's the offerer and who's the receiver? So logic would state that living in the present moment, or practicing present moment thinking, is something that we offer ourselves, right? So if I'm living in the present moment, I'm offering myself this by consciously dropping the concern of tomorrow or referencing the past when evaluating or interfacing with reality. So if I practice gratitude, in that moment that you're practicing gratitude, you're making, you're referencing the things that you have in the now. But as far as the present component of it, you're giving yourself that. Now, what's the value of that present that you're giving yourself? Is you're allowing yourself to remove from tomorrow or yesterday, which is the best present you'll receive under the tree or next to the menorah. So it's fun to acknowledge that doing so, we offer people as well around us and the universe alike a better version of ourselves energetically. So think about how far we can go with this idea of living in the present moment. You're presenting yourself with a present, this opportunity to detach from tomorrow and yesterday, but in doing so, you're actually creating a better version of yourself, right? Chicken calls this the float state, and that's what Karma Mind's all about. So it's just good all around. It's just good all around. So why would I share that? I'm just always looking to enhance the value of doing something that will require work. What's the work in present moment thinking? Well, you're going to have to get rid of tomorrow and yesterday. And that's not easy because we're wired to be worried about tomorrow and yesterday. So I perceive this in the most consistent fashion in the sun. Now, I was looking the other day. I know you're not supposed to look at the sun, but you kind of always peek at it and you know it's there, right? Isn't that interesting? Isn't it interesting how we just every now and then scan by and we see this thing that we're not supposed to look at because it's bad for our eyes? What a weird thing that the big guy in the sky in the universe created. It's like this most amazing looking thing that we're told not to look at. Anybody ever think about that? So I perceive this concept of present moment thinking most consistent in the sun. So the sun, if you think about it, it rises each day with reliable consistency. Does anybody have any concern that the sun won't rise tomorrow? Isn't that interesting? Now, you might not see it because of clouds and stuff, but it's always there. It's always there with reliable consistency. Just like us, the sun experienced yesterday and is susceptible tomorrow. Have you ever thought about that? Here's the sun, lives in the same world, and it's exposed. Who knows what level of consciousness the sun has? I mean, Researchers now are acknowledging that rocks have consciousness or have access to consciousness, maybe less than you and I. So who knows what the sun is thinking? Maybe the sun's like super smart and sensitive. Who knows? But the sun is exposed to the same things that we are, yet it rises each day unaffected by either. So ask yourself this question: how efficient and successful is the sun? If the sun's goal in life and purpose in this ecosystem of life, right? Because the sun does a lot of stuff. The moon, you can think about this too. How successful is the sun at doing its job in life? Ever hear the sun worry or complain? So today, I choose to be like the sun. This is what I do every day now as I think about this, ever since this came into my mind. I will rise up with reliable consistency. That's my goal today. And in order to do that, I have to be completely locked into what it is that my purpose is, where I'm going, and why I'm doing all these things. You know, in the 15 days of discipline, we talk about setting your goal and attaching it to all these things. So I'm very, very conscious of that. So when I decide to rise up with reliable consistency and express my calling and great potential, I have to know all those things. So my message to the universe and all those around me, what is it? You can count on me to rise up this day and the next and the next. Think about the people that and the things in life that are most important and that rely on you. Can you be reliable like the sun? Now, keep in mind what that's going to entail. You're going to face adversities and struggle and challenges, just like we have with our daughter, with the travel and all in the pandemic. We've all been through that. But do you still rise? And another interesting thing about adversity, because we all learn, you know, from Ryan Holiday and all these amazing authors, the obstacle is the way, right? It actually shows us the way. But when the obstacle presents itself, we all have this programmed mind that thinks that that's a day that we're allowed to take off. Does the sun get a day off? It doesn't. And why would you be okay if the sun took a day off? Well, no, you wouldn't, right? You would not be okay at all. So looking at yourself like that it's an exciting thing to do, but it's also a challenge and it's a struggle, because when we fall victim to something, maybe you got sick, or maybe you've just had a really rough day and you think that you need a break. You deserve a break today, right? Sun doesn't get that. And that's why, you know, as we're talking right now, the sun is there. It's always there. Are you always there? Because everything that you desire requires that. It requires that consistency. But so you may take notice of me and appreciate my value and good intentions when you choose. That's another thing I think is cool. I'm going to show up every day and rise like the sun, whether people notice me or not. I don't think the sun takes note of who's noticing it. We're so comfortable with relying on the sun rising that we're in this place now where, you know, we don't even think about it. Days will go by, you know the sun is there, but you won't consciously think about it, and the sun won't take offense to it. So another thing, when I make a conscious decision to rise like the sun, I will rise today and tomorrow and the next with consistency and passion, you know, and I will do it whether you notice it or not and compliment me or not. A lot of times we rise so that we get noticed that we're rising. You know, it's important. When our clients are going after their health and people start to notice and say, hey, you look good, are you losing weight and all that, that's a big motivator. So a lot of people start to struggle when nobody notices. So can you get to a place in your life where you can consciously rise each day, regardless of whether or not somebody notices? You rise anyway. So aware of yesterday and tomorrow, yet free from it in this moment. Purpose driven. You have to have a purpose for rising. So, and the sun does, right? Purpose driven. I will cast my rays of love and compassion free from the concepts that I may have built. Not forget about that I built from yesterday, and in service to those that need me now and to those that wake up needing me tomorrow. That's why we rise. We don't rise for what we get out of it. But then again, what I can tell you, we do get something. If you selflessly do things for others, you are getting, but you're unconscious to it. What you're getting is the feeling of responsibility. It makes you feel good. Sometimes it might not come in the form of people saying thanks and recognizing it. Parents, you all understand this. But when we rise and we make others feel safe and comfortable in our consistency, that makes me feel good. It's probably the reason why people enjoy serving God so much. God doesn't always say thank you, right? He doesn't actually say that to you, but you feel good knowing it, just doing that selflessly. There's no such thing as selfless, by the way, because the selfless act is actually selfish, right? I want you to know that I'm doing something selflessly. Oh, God, JC, Dragon, we really appreciate you. You always do for others, not yourself. I'm doing that for myself by doing for others. So this is what the interface response system will offer you as it does me. And I've been practicing it a lot lately, and it takes practice. The ability to interact and interface with the world in the present moment without being jaded by an analytical mind that's always running, your programmed mind, and attached or worried about outcomes. Let me read that again. The ability to interact and interface with the world in the present moment without being jaded by an analytical mind and attached or worried about outcomes. It will help you each morning and each day. So I say, give yourself and others a present today and rise like the sun. So that is today's Rise Up, and I just think it's beautiful. I think it's beautiful, and I just think about all of you and how proud I am of all of you that rise up, especially you parents. You know, I think we live in a world where people unconsciously rise up to go to work, and they don't even like their job, but it's important to see that you can do that. You know, as a matter of fact, if everybody took responsibility with their family and their health like they do with their job, we would have no disease or very, very minimal. I always think that that's interesting how people can work like a 40 to 60 hour work week, but not go to the gym. Now take care of their health. So take the blindfolds off. I hope that the Rise Up with Dragon podcast does that for you. Love and appreciate you. And I feel so blessed that I have the opportunity to grow up in front of you and share all these things, because it just helps me take ownership of it. So follow us on Instagram, Rise Up with Dragon. Go to the riseupwithdragon.com website. Sign up for our weekly newsletter and blog. And we've got a lot of fun stuff coming. So love and appreciate you. Have an amazing day.